Hello, Assalamu alaikum. How are you guys? So this is question number 1, December 2018 AFM paper. Okay. I thought of solving a question from here. I'm not going to complete the whole question. The purpose of this video is to show you how to write theory parts. So my goal is to show you how to write theory parts. Today I'm already going to cover theory parts. I'm going to do 3 questions, right? Two theory questions are from question 1 and one theory question is from question number 3. So today I'm going to take you through how to write a theory answer. Okay, I thought of starting with the theory one because it's much easier because we just have to use the word processor. So we are not going to touch all the formulas or spreadsheets and nothing. We are only going to deal in word processor. We just have to type. What you have to observe, your duty in this is to see how I am linking, okay, with the exhibits, the amount of time I'm taking to write, how I'm structuring my answer, what is my thought process and all, right? I have the answer in front of me. I have the answer on my phone. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to copy the exact same answer what they have written. I am going to answer this question as if I was the student who is giving this paper exam for the first time. If I came across a question like this, how am I going to write this answer? Okay. So let's start with, as you can see, this is question 1. Again, let me repeat, the paper is December 2018. Okay. So the following exhibits and I'm also going to cover the other areas also, but in the other videos. In fact, I'm going to make separate videos on each section. Like one as for theory part, the other one will be for risk management, the other one will be for acquisition and merger, the other one will be for reconstructions and reorganizations, and we have for and this one is for theory part. So for each section, we have 5 sections, right? 5 main sections in AFM, section A to E. So I'm going to cover all the sections, but not in one single video. There'll be 5 separate videos where I'll be going to cover only that question. So this is only just theory part. And I'm going to start with the simplest theory first, and then I'm going to build up on more complex one. The reason is that you have to first become comfortable. That's why I'm going to start with the one which is just for 4 marks. Okay, before that, you have to go through the following exhibits. So number 1 is about the background, number 2 is the accusation, proposed accusation, number 3 combined company financial details, 4th is acquisition price offer, and 5th is future plans. Now one thing you have to note is when you're writing theory, especially if you have seen the theory questions in section A, if you asked a theory questions are usually asked in the first part A and last. Okay, so the one which is asked in the first, if you are asked a theory question, your first question itself is a theory question. Let's assume question 1 which is for 50 marks, and the first question itself is a theory question, right? That means that question is not linked with any other things. So that means you don't have to read the whole case study. You can just read part of those lines, maybe especially mostly it is the background. Once you read the background, you will understand, right? Because sometimes the theory you can write on its own, like it's not linked. You don't need to read all those financial details, accusation, proposition, proposed accusation details, all those are not needed. But if a theory question is asked after some calculations or after some calculations, then it is linked to, you have to use those calculations. Okay, so that's how you know which area you have, what are the things you need. Okay, so let us open the background first. This is, how do you print? Opeo, opeo, you can pronounce it in any way. As you can see, this is the introduction and you need to scroll down. Okay, you can zoom it. It's better you zoom it because it's too small for your eyes. Okay, so but before, one thing I would like to tell, once you get it, before you go to the exhibits, This is for any paper. Start with the requirements. It will tell you which exhibit you want. It will give an idea. So I'm going to start with the requirements first and see what are the requirements. So in this video, I'm going to do A and B. I'm going to cover A and B, the theory parts. Okay, there is another theory part which is the last part, part D. But I'm not going to cover it because that's easy. It is just the difference between IPO and reverse takeover and which one is more appropriate for 8 marks. That I think is easy also, and you'll be able to do it. It's pure textbook knowledge. So I'm not going to do it. Right? Do it yourself and check. What I'm going to do is A and B. Okay. So A is the easiest one. So if you have seen that it's A, okay, the requirement, first requirement itself is a theory question. What is it? Distinguish between a MBO and an MBI and discuss why the company's board of directors might have sold Burger through an MBI. So two things you have to deal here. What are the two things? First, you have to distinguish between MBO and MBI. Then you have to tell why they have sold a company through MBI. That is just another thing. So that means how are you going to divide the marks? First decide how are you going to divide the marks. That will tell you how much you have to write. So 2 marks for distinguishing, the other 2 marks for telling why they will sold through MBI. So that means you can give 2 points to distinguish and 2 points to sell through MBI, and it's for 4 marks. Okay. So definitely it is distinguish between MBO and MBI. Even if you don't read the case study, you should be able to distinguish between MBO and MBI, right? But for the second part of the requirement, right, I'm going to highlight it. Sold through MBI. I'm going to highlight this. Okay. You see? So this is the way you highlight. Second part, you need the case study. It's better to read a little bit of case study even though you can answer this without reading the case study. So this tells me that I don't need to go through all the exhibits. It's time, you're wasting time, no? If something is not needed for that requirement, why to read? So I don't need this. If you still want to open, you can just open and see what it proposed accusation, all this. It gives the financial information of a I. Okay, as you can see, it's not needed. Combined company, right? It's talking about combined company, nothing to do with MBO and MBI. This is about accusation. So it's not, because section A has questions more than one area of the syllabus. That's why you will see MBO and MBI, which is, it is from which chapter, which section of your syllabus? It is from your reconstructions and reorganization, section D. But when you go to B, I'm sorry, when you go to C, that is acquisition and merger, that is section C. So there is more than one section in section A, that is expected. That's why you don't have to take all the exhibits. When you go to 4, accusation price, okay? Even if you see the word itself, you know that you don't have to go. It's not needed. But still you can have a look like this. Skip. Right? It's talking about the different payments and all. It's not needed in this part of the requirement. Future plans. Right? So this is the future plan, which is again not needed. So, and also another thing which will help you to know which exhibit, okay, is just look at the sequence of the exhibit and sequence of the requirement. The order matches. It's like the first question was distinguish between MBO and MBI. So definitely it will be in exhibit 1 or sometimes 2. But in this case it's only 1, okay? It follows that order. The way your requirements are, the exhibits also are like that. So for first requirement, you will be mostly using exhibit 1 or 2. It's not the other way around, okay? They cannot ask you a question on the first and you are using the last exhibit. Rarely I've seen, it's not like that. Okay, most of the time, 98% of the time, or to be more precise, 99% of the time, what I have seen is they follow that order, exhibits and the requirements. So that's also another good thing for you to know that this is the exhibit I need for this requirement. If you see the last requirement, okay, they are talking about what? IPO and reverse takeover, I can see from here. And even the last requirement, just see, distinguish between IPO and reverse takeover. So what What does this tell you? That the last requirement you can link with the last exhibit. Can you see that order? So they follow that order. So that's a good thing for you, so that you don't have to go through each exhibit and decide which one is for the first one. So I'm just going to open the first one. Told it this is needed. Calculation part is not needed, so I don't need the numbers and all. I just have to read. Okay. So if you want, you can close down the exhibit, because not the exhibit, the requirement page, or you can keep it. So I'm going to read this. Around 7 years, the Opeo is a private conglomerate company involved in many different businesses, deciding to obtain a listing on a recognized stock exchange by offering a small proportion of its equity shares to public. That means they are going public. So before listing, the company was owned by around 100 shareholders who were all closely linked to the Opeo and had their entire shareholding well invested in the company. However, soon after listing, these individuals started selling their shares, and over a 2-year period after listing, its ownership structure changed to one of many diverse individual and institutional shareholders. As a consequence of this change in ownership structure, the board of directors commenced an aggressive period of business reorganization through portfolio and organizational restructuring. The next requirement, when you read through, you will see that it's about business reorganization through portfolio and organizational restructuring. There are two ways of business reorganization. One is organizational restructuring, the other one is portfolio restructuring. Let's not talk about it here, because our first requirement is about MBO and MBI. So this resulted in OPS changing from conglomerate to focusing on just two business sectors: financial services and food services. You can highlight and keep this. Okay. Wait a minute. It's not. The financial press reported that Opera had been forced to take this action because of the change in type of shareholders. The equity market seemed to support this action, and Opera's share price had grown strongly during this period of restructuring after growing very slowly initially. Okay. Opera recently sold a subsidiary, which is this company. You have been mentioned about this company, right, in requirement 1, through a management buy-in. Although it had the option to dispose through a MBO. So in a statement, the BOD justified this by stating that the company would be better off being controlled by the MBI team. So is now considering acquiring. So exhibit 2 to 4 is about acquisition. That is not even related for the first requirement. Okay, so I'm not going to go through that. Now do you see the amount of time I have saved here? I exactly know which exhibit to use for that requirement, and now I can just answer. So I'm going to open my word processor. Okay, and I'm going to type. What am I going to type? Now, one thing you have to remember, it's better to open up your requirements page also. From time to time, you can see the requirement. Are you answering the requirement or not? Because what happens when you go through the exhibit, in most of the cases, by now you must have forgot the requirements, what the requirement asked. So it's better to keep this requirement, not the whole thing. Whole thing is not required, so I'm going to cover only the important, the first requirement. That's it. I should only see the first requirement. That's it. Other requirements I don't need now. So now I have the requirement in front of me. I have the word process in front of me. What else? I just have to type. Okay, so how am I going to start? First, before you start, decide how many paragraphs you are going to write, how many points you have to write under each paragraph, how you are starting, how you are ending. All this thing in your mind. You are not doing any rough note or anything. So for this, I don't need a calculator. I don't need to highlight anything. It's highlighted already. I don't need to put any symbols. I don't need the scratch pad, because rough working is not required here, right? I just can write. It's just typing, that's it. So first, start in the order which they have given. Don't start it the other way around. Okay, don't start by saying why they have sold the company through MBI. That is the second part of the requirement. First part asked you to distinguish between MBO and MBI. So first you have to distinguish. Okay, so since in the first requirement itself there are two parts, so this tells you that you can have the answer in two different paragraphs, right? So once you decide to where the first paragraph will be, I'm going to distinguish between MBO and MBI, right? I can give 2 points. 2 points is enough. So when you write, you can write the whole thing also. You can just write MBO, it is understood. Okay. So So don't be in confusion. I should start with MBO or MBI. You can start defining any one of it first. It does not matter, MBO or MBI, right? So you have to distinguish what each of this means. Okay, so I'm going to start this MBO. Okay, all three has to be in capital letter. Okay, because here it is capital. Keep it same as it. Now if you see, once you click on that page, this comes front. So again you have to click on the word processor, so this comes front. Okay, MBO. What is it? What is an MBO? Now you have to go back, think. Okay, immediately if something does not come, take a pause and start thinking. Go back, start thinking, what is MBO, what is MBI. Don't be in a hurry just to write whatever comes. There will be so many things which are coming in your mind that you want to write so much of things, but remember it's just for four marks and 2 points you have to write. So gather all your thoughts and structure your answer and then write the main thing. You should be able to decide which is the main thing out of all the differences. What is the very important thing that you should write? A very significant, very important difference that you have to write first. Okay, if the same question was for 10-12 marks, you could have write number of differences, but this is just for 4 marks and you can just write two difference. So MBO, what is it? MBO is when you are selling the company, or you are selling the company to the manager. Which manager? The manager who are working in your company, inside manager, the existing management. Okay, or if you want to arrange it in another way. Okay, so can you see the same thing you can write in different ways? It's good thing if you know how to write an answer in a different ways. It's better for you rather than only one way only. And this usually comes when you practice a lot of theory part. But if you just try to memorize an answer, it will be very hard for you to write it other than what you have memorized. That's why never memorize theory answers. It will not help you. Understand and then write in your own words. As I have told you, I'm not going to copy paste the exact answer what they have written. I'm going to write my own answer. So what is MBO? First, write the definition. Definition itself will tell you the difference between MBO and MBI. Whenever a question comes like this, distinguish between two different things. And it's for this marks. So you don't have to give list of differences. You can just give the definition. In the definition itself, the difference is there. What is the difference? Either you can say the company have sold it to management, existing management, or the managers who are running the company, or you can say the managers have purchased this company from us, the existing managers have purchased this company from us, or the managers who are running the company. Anyway, it's correct. That is MBO, right? MBI, what is MBI? MBI is same, definition is same, but not existing, it is outside manager. Okay, either the managers are buying from us or you are sending it to the manager. It's the same thing, right? So you can write from manager's point of view or the company's point of view. Either you are selling or the manager is buying from you. That's it. So MBI in, and you can say MBI involves or MBO means. Okay, so I'm going to write my own answer. Okay, selling the company to the existing manager. Selling the company to the existing manager, but in the marking scheme, the answer what they have written is, I will read that answer also. They wrote MBO involves the purchase of a company by the management running that company. Okay, but that's their answer. This is it. My answer is different, but it's same. The meaning is same. It means selling the company to the existing managers. Okay, or managers inside the company, or managers running that company, anything. Now, what is the next line? How do you go from the next line? That is also a thing which you have to know. This is the first line I wrote. How to go to the next? What is the next line? What should I write? You have to link this to the case study. You have to link this to the case study. You could link MBO to the case study by referring to the two companies, or you can write MBI definition and then write it. Either way, it's correct. But you have to link. How are you going to link? Hence, or thus, anyway, you can write. These are connecting words, okay? Hence, what is the name? The management company who is buying it. The company is here, okay? The name of the company is here. You could either copy paste this, okay? Or you can type it. Either way. But when you copy paste it, it will come in highlighted version. So make sure this is not highlighted before you copy paste it. I'm going to undo this. You see what happened when I undo? Everything went. Redo it. Okay. So hence, Burgut. You also keep on typing the answer. Okay. Burgut companies. Do you see how I'm linking to the case study? This is the way you have to link to the case study. One line of definition you're writing, straight away you are linking that definition to the case study. How? By using the company's name which is given to you. Okay. The company's name and the manager. So who is the manager over here? Burgut. Okay, Burgut current management team would be buying. Or you could say Oppo would be selling to Burgut. Okay, I will write the answer. The way I have defined, I will write that way. This is the answer which they have given, okay? Hence, who is selling to whom? A POW company is selling to, Oppo company is selling. Oppo company is selling the company to Burgut. Burgut company. Read the sentence and see. My definition, does it align with the way I have linked it with the case study? I told MBO means selling the company to the existing manager. So hence Oppo company is selling the company to Burger company. Right? Or okay, selling the burgers. Better to write the management, okay? Burger company's current management team. Hence is selling the company to Burger company's current management team. It's better to write it this way because you're selling to the company, the management. Okay. Now, what's the next thing? What is the next thing? It is MBI. So MBI. Next definition. Okay. Same paragraph I'm writing. So there is no line in between. Okay. MBI means selling. Burger. So here also I can write selling burger. Selling burger Selling burger to whom? This is management buy into managers outside. Okay. Selling burger company to management to outside managers. To outside managers or managers outside the company. Okay, I will write managers outside the company. Then look at the number of lines, just 2 lines, very briefly. I defined MBO, I defined MBI, I linked it with the case study also in one paragraph. So the 2 points I got here. Now I'm putting enter. Enter will take you to the next paragraph. Already a space is there in between the two paragraphs. Now I'm going to write the second. What is the second thing? Why they have sold the company through MBI. So here, if you look at the answer is in some 7-8 lines. It's not needed. It's explanation for explanation purpose, but you just have to write in 2 lines or 2 points is enough because it is just for 4 marks. Okay. So there could be following reasons why they have sold the burger company through MBI. That means to the outside managers outside the company. So you don't have to tell anything. You can just directly start by starting with the reasons. Okay. So what could be the reasons? What could be the reason? There could be so many reasons why you want managers outside. Maybe the existing managers, they lack the fresh ideas or strategies that could drive the company. And if you take managers from outside, so all these are textbook knowledge, okay? So if you take managers from outside, they might be having fresh knowledge, experience, and since they have worked in other companies also, so they might be able to be more effective, right? They might be more innovative. They might have the finance also available to move quickly and all. So all these things will be able to could be the reason why they want to sell it through MBI. But since you have too many reasons, how are you going to write? You can just pick any two of it and write. Okay. So but you have to talk in terms of the company. Okay, not general answers. Upper companies. You have to say upper company's board of directors. Okay. Just see the case, the requirement. Their board of directors might have felt that now when you type, you have to be very fast. Okay. So practice your typing speed also. Current managers, you can write management team or managers. I'm writing current managers lacked. They might feel that they lacked fresh ideas. Which could drive burger forward. Okay. So this is one point I wrote. Another reason. Come up with another reason. That could be the second line. So they are telling. So this you are saying that they might have felt current managers lack fresh ideas that would drive this one. So what? So managers outside or outside managers. Or you can even write external managers. Okay. It's better to write external managers. See how I am trying to make the sentences short, but I'm writing the important points also because it will help me to save my time rather than writing lengthy paragraphs and all. This is the thing which you have to avoid. It's easy to write more, but trust me, it's very hard to write when you are have very less marks. So so external managers might come up with fresh and more innovative ideas. You have to tell why, because the reason is why they have sold through MBI. So it's not enough for you to tell the current managers lacked fresh idea. That is just one problem you're giving up MBO. But then you have to give a reason why MBI. Because MBI, external managers might come up with fresh and more innovative ideas and help what? Help Burger company to perform better. To perform better. So one point is over. Next point. What is the next point? Disagreements. There could be disagreements. Another reason could be there could be disagreements between whom? Between Burger company and Oppo company in the past. Because if it's existing, right? So definitely existing means someone who have worked. They are your manager. So definitely they might have disagreements in the past. So that's a problem. Now what's the solution? Okay. They could have disagreement this one in the past. So therefore it's so therefore Oppo companies board of director may may feel may have may, might have felt, it's in the past, right, might have felt that outside managers could work more objectively, right, could work more objectively, because they are not linked, they don't have any relationship in the past, no fight, they are starting fresh, they are not attached, so they can work more objectively, they will not be subjective, no disagreements and nothing. But this same thing you can write in your way. It's better you write in your own words and don't try to match with the answer which they give. If you see the actual answer, I will show you the actual answer after the end of this exam. You will see it's very lengthy, right? But I have written it in short in my own words I have wrote. But definitely I'm using it to get the points, okay? Next. So with this I'm over, right? I'm over. I'm done. I'm done with part A. So do you see how I have wrote this theory part? Okay, but this is quite easy. There are some theory part which is a little more complex. You don't know exactly how many paragraphs or what are the points to divide, but since this is easy, we know MBO, MBI and why they have sold. Now let us come to, but now see another thing. What do you have to write here? You have to write it A. You have to write A because it's for requirement A. Remember yesterday I have showed the CBE platform video, I have showed you that you have to write it is for which part. You have to make it clear to the examiner, because you are using it, you are writing all the theory parts in the same word, MS Word. So all answers will be saved. But if the examiner does not know which one is for which part of the requirement, then you're not getting the marks. So you have to write part A. It is understood that is question 1. Okay, so now when I go to B, I'll be writing B. Okay, and then I'm coming to requirements. Okay, the reason why I chose part B, A is for just it is just the starting. The reason why I've chosen part B is because this type of question you can expect, especially reconstruction and reorganization. Under reconstructions and reorganization, this question you can expect. A nature of theory questions from reconstruction and reorganization. That's why I've chosen this question. So what is the requirement? Explain what portfolio and organizational restructuring involve and discuss. So the moment and is there means that's another requirement is there. Sub requirements, okay? And discuss possible reasons why the change in the type of shareholders may have made a company change from being a conglomerate to one focusing on just two business sector. Just now I think we have read that case study, the background. So we don't need this accusation part and all again. Exhibit 1 itself will be enough for part B also. We saw that, we went through that. So I'm going to open the exhibit 1. They have told that they have changed from conglomerate to just two business sector. What are they? Financial service and food service. I have highlighted also. Okay. So what should I do? It's for 5 marks. And this is an odd mark. Okay, 4 is easy to do. But 5 marks, how are you going to divide? You cannot divide it 2.5 and 2.5. Okay. So when it's at 5 marks, you can divide it like this. The explanation 2 marks and the remaining 3 marks is for why they have changed from conglomerate to two business sector. Okay, so first we are going to focus on what. Here also the answer makes it clear, the requirement that you can divide your answer into how many paragraphs? How many paragraphs? You can divide it into 2 paragraphs, 2 or 3, it's up to you. 2 or 3, up to 2 or 3 you can divide the paragraphs. Okay, and write your answer. Okay, so how are you going to start on this? So first I'm going to highlight this. Okay, first I'm going to highlight this. First, I'm going to answer what is portfolio restructuring and what is organization restructuring. So 1 mark for defining, explaining what is portfolio. The other 1 mark is for defining what is organizational restructuring. Okay, even though I tell you don't memorize, but make sure you know briefly or some definition of terms like this. Okay, because this terms portfolio restructuring, organizational restructuring, I've seen it came multiple times. That's the reason I have involved this question. So now if I open the word process, the answer is it's already there, the part A answer. So I have to start for part B. And I'm going to start with portfolio and operation. For this, I don't think exhibit it includes anything about it. So the definition, I can just write it. Okay. But if you remember the textbook definition, you can write it. Or you can write in your own words. So what is portfolio restructuring? Start with portfolio. Directly to the point. Portfolio restructuring. What does it involve? Post-structure restructuring involves, and if you see the spelling is wrong, my spelling is wrong here. Okay, but never mind. Make sure that you don't make all the spelling mistakes and all. Even though your marks will not be cut for spelling mistakes and all, but even if you write wrong spellings, they will not show that red line like here, because my restructuring and spelling is wrong. Okay, but let it be. This is just a practice. Make sure that you don't make all the spelling mistakes and all in the exam. Okay, so portfolio restructuring involves, what does it involve? Please don't open your textbook and see the definition. Try to answer as much as you can remember. It's better to make mistake and then learn rather than going through the textbook and writing the correct answer, because you're not learning anything from that. So my dear students, please don't touch that textbook after you finish the whole paper, where you have to go through that syllabus area and study more. Then you take that textbook and go through it. Other than that, while answering, don't. Because when you are not with the textbook, don't even sit with the textbook in front of you. It will make you think. You will think hard. You will somehow try to come up with some answer. But the moment you have the textbook, you will definitely open the textbook. Trust me on this. You cannot. Don't tell me that textbook is in front of you and you didn't touch the textbook. Maybe 1% out of you will be like that. But the 99% will open that textbook and then answer. In order for you to get good marks, you want to get high marks. But it does not matter in the marks if you get good marks also by seeing the textbook or seeing the revision kit answer, past paper answer, whatever it is, then it's no use. Rather, you make mistake while you're doing the mocks because you can do this paper multiple times, right? Portfolio. Portfolio restructuring. What does it involve? Accusation of company. So here I am giving you the textbook answer. This you can arrange in your own words also. Does not matter, but this thing has to be there in your answer. That's why I'm writing it. Accusation of company, disposal of assets. And what else? Demerger. Okay, demergers, spin-offs. I even had a video on this also. Remember all those things? These are known as portfolio. You're changing your portfolio in short by selling off, demerger, okay, or accusation. So spin-off and what else? Even MBO and MBI. That's the reason they have given you link. See how you're linking? MBO is given. So MBO and MBI is also part of portfolio restructuring. In fact, the majority of our syllabus, what we are doing is what? Portfolio restructuring only. Everything we're studying under reconstruction and reorganization is majority is portfolio restructuring. So that's why it will not be hard for you to answer this. Okay, whether it's accusation, whether it's disposal, whether it's demerger, whether it's spin-off, whether it's MBA, MBA, everything is portfolio restructuring only. So we are done with it. Now what else? What's the next? Okay, what's the next line? What should be your next line? You should know how to go to the next line. Next line is organizational restructuring. Okay, so organizational restructuring, what is it? What is organizational restructuring? If I ask you to tell me briefly, it involves changing the way the company is organized. The way the company is organized. Okay, so this involves organizational restructuring involves changing the structure of divisions in a business or in a company, business process and other changes such as corporate governance. But those things we don't need. Okay, if you write this much also is enough. This much is enough for you. Next, what is it? What did the question ask you? Take the requirements up. Explain what involves. But remember, guys, whatever the restructuring is, whether it's portfolio, whether it's organization, what is the main purpose of it? The main purpose is for them to increase the performance and the value of the business. Okay. So this, make sure that you write this line. Okay, so this line you can write here. The aim is, or you can write it as a separate line also. The aim of both restructuring. You can write either type or both restructuring. What is it? Is to increase performance and value of business. Performance and value of business. That's why loss making organizations and all, you do portfolio restructuring and organization restructuring. Why? Because you want to increase the performance when the company is not performing well. That's the whole purpose. Now come to the next paragraph. What will be the next paragraph? We have explained what the two types of restructuring is. The next one is possible reasons why they change. So you could give three reasons, because 2 marks for explanation, 3 marks for reasoning. Why the change in type of shareholders may have a payout change from being conglomerate to one focusing on just two business sector. I hope you have understood the question. Okay. So if you see the answer, it's a very lengthy answer. Okay, around 10-12 lines the answer is. You don't have to write that much. Just write 3 points, 3 different lines is enough. So what could be the reason? Understand, before it was a conglomerate. Now it is just focusing on two business sector. One is financial sector, the other one is food manufacturing. Okay. What could be the reason? What could be the reason of? I'm giving you some time to think, because immediately reasons does not come in your mind. Take 1-2 minutes and think. Once you take 1-2 minutes to think, then when you type, you can type fast. When you are ready with all the reasons. So what is this term known as? You are changing from conglomerate to focusing on just two business sector. What is this term known as? This term is known as what? Restructuring, my dear friends. Restructuring, that's what we are learning. Restructuring, right? Restructuring, portfolio or organizational? It is portfolio, because in portfolio we saw disposing, demerger or spin-off. When you're going down, when you have 3 business, now you're having only 2, you're selling out one. That is known as portfolio restructuring, exactly from conglomerate to 2 business sector. So this is an example of portfolio restructuring, not organizational restructuring. Understand it? Okay. So first you're writing it. This is not a reason, but you still have to write this line, that this is an example of portfolio restructuring. That's the reason they have asked you to explain what's the portfolio restructuring and organizational restructuring. So this is an example of portfolio restructuring. I'm going to write it in next paragraph. Okay. Conglomerate to 2 business areas is an example of portfolio restructuring. Okay. Why? Let us look at the background more. So why they have changed this? Because the shareholders changed. Okay, that you have to understand the type of shareholder. All this talked about MBO and MBI. Okay, this paragraph we don't need. So now the next thing you have to write. How do you go to the next line? Now you're starting with the reasons. The three out of the three reasons, you're starting with one. Okay, and these reasons are not given to you in the exhibit. So how do you go ahead? You have to use your common sense here now. That's why I took you through this question to show you how to use common sense. Sometimes you cannot answer such questions from the textbook. Everything is not there in the textbook. Here you have to think and use your common sense. What could be in areas? You have to imagine what could be areas that they might have gone from the conglomerate to two business areas. So here I'm going to give you some of the answers which they have given in the marking scheme, but I'm going to write it in different way, in my way, right? Definitely I'm not going to copy paste their answer. So the reasons, I'm going to start. Reason number one. What is it? They are into which two business area? One is financial services, the other one is food manufacturing. So your answer, when you're going to talk about the reasons, you have to link with these two sectors, food manufacturing and financial services. So financial markets, okay, one reason could be that financial markets may take the view. What view is that? Right? Definitely I'm going to link with this too. So I'm talking about financial markets may take the view that focusing on food manufacturing and financial services. Definitely we two, right? And financial services has enabled. So just focusing on two sectors has enabled the company to do what? Which company? Okay, company. Please mention the name of the company always in your answer. Opera companies. Senior. Okay, management. Why senior management? It could be any level of management, right? Why senior management? To concentrate. Concentrate on what? Areas in which they have expertise. Maybe they have expertise in these two areas. Right? Definitely when your organization, this is common sense. Think, visualize when your company is not performing well. Let's assume you have 5-6 lines of business. So what will you do? You will close down those areas which are not core to the success of your business or where you don't have expertise. You will only have one or two area where you have expertise, right? So does it make sense? Right? It's logical. So you have to think like this. Think logically. You have to use common sense here. Knowledge will not help you all the time. That's why students struggle to write theory parts because calculations and all, okay, we know how to calculate, formulas are given, functions are there, we know, but what about theory? No one guides us, no one tells us, okay, exactly this is the way you have to write or this is the way you start. That you learn by yourself. You write, make mistake, and everyone has a different writing pattern. Okay, some are naturally, they are born, they are very good in writing, they understand a concept and they write it so well. And some of you who are not very good in theory part, you have to develop that skill, because if you don't, you will struggle in every, you will trust me, you will struggle because you cannot skip that. Writing theory is a part of your exam. It is there. In question number 3 I will tell you 10 marks is there just for writing theory. 10 marks. It's not a joke. So on areas, okay. So definitely they will think that these two organizations or these two areas, they will focus on areas in which they have expertise. Okay. In which they have expertise. And let me tell you, the more you write or type, okay, because the CV, the more you will remember the information. But when you read, what happens is you are not making a brain exercise. Your brain is not thinking, it's not working, it's just reading, that's it. It's like a story, that's it. Finished. So never read theory answers and come to the answer without attempting, okay? In fact, when you plan your question, you have to plan your question in such a way you are not doing full theory on one day, not theory. You will become bored. It should not be all calculations, okay? It should not be all calculations also. That you are doing all net present value calculations, exchange rate, and getting bored. Because doing calculation takes more time. It should be balanced. You should do theory also, you should do calculation also on a single day. That's how. Do one question, it's okay. This last few days, pick up any one past paper, just do one question in that past paper. It's not compulsory that you have to do all the three questions initially. But do that one question properly, do justify. Justify, okay? Don't be in a hurry just to finish and mark, review yourself. That's it. Next point. What is the next point? Right? So if they don't have expertise, they are disposed of. It is understood that other areas where they don't have expertise, it will be disposed of. I don't have to write it. What could be the other reason? Always keep that requirement in front of you. It will make you think. Okay. So now, even this you can resize. If you want, you can increase the size. Next point. What is the next point? So what does this activity leads to? It leads to maximization of business value. This maximizes business value, right? Your business value will go up. What is the next? The next, you can write it different paragraph, different line, or in the same this thing only. Okay, I am writing in the same paragraph. So I'm also thinking, you also think. Okay? That's why that silence is there. Why I'm not talking, why I'm not talking. So I'm thinking, what is the next point? So what is the other thing? What is another area? Reason. Diversification of risk. The other one is minimization of risk for the shareholders. Why? How? Because shareholders who are closely linked to a particular business do not hold diversified investment portfolios. So because of that, they benefit from diversification of risk, investing in many different areas. Correct? But on the other hand, institutional shareholders, and other shareholders who hold, okay, so shareholders and institutional shareholders who already hold well diversified portfolios, they cannot minimize risk by diversification, by becoming a conglomerate. So there is a level up to what you can conglomerate and reduce your risk. After that, you cannot. Let's say why institutional investors does not want to go for a conglomerate, because they already hold well diversified portfolios. So if they go for conglomerate, they cannot reduce their risk further. Okay, I'm explaining you the point first, and then I will start typing the answer. Okay, so that's why I will take more time, because it's important for you first to understand the point why it is there in the answer. So another area is diversification of risk. Why a company goes to conglomerate? To diversify, right, different areas. But when usually it is the institutional shareholders, because they are very large shareholders, okay, who already hold well diversified portfolio. So how can they benefit? They will not benefit from diversification of risk. They cannot reduce their risk any further. That's why it's better for them to go from conglomerate to two areas where they have expertise, right? Because why they will go to two areas? Because this will increase the value of the company. We just now saw maximizes business value by just focusing on areas where they have expertise. So finally, because their owner has changed, their shareholders has changed in the company, it has forced them to change the overall strategy also, from conglomerate to just to business sector. Okay, so do you see? So that is the point. You can write. Okay, I will write it in the next line. Okay, it's better to write it in the next line, because then the examiner can say it's a different point altogether. So I have told you the point, now you can write in your own words. Shareholders who hold okay, shareholders and institutional shareholders, because in the case study they have mentioned about institutional shareholders, so I will write institutional shareholders. I'm not opening the exhibits again, but you can keep check institutional. Who hold well diversified who hold well diversified portfolios will not benefit from company undertaking risk management. How do they reduce, or how do they manage risk? Through diversification, right? That's the purpose of you go for conglomerate in the first place, because you want to diversify and reduce your risk by becoming conglomerate. So instead, such companies, so the third point you can give, right? I'm not writing it, I'm just writing this, and I will end this question here. Research companies would increase value by focusing on areas in which they have expertise. Okay. Again, before you finish the question, always read the requirements, reread it multiple times to see whether you have actually answered the requirement or not. We have explained portfolio and organizational and discussed possible reasons why they change in the type of shareholders may have changed from being conglomerate to focusing on just two business sector. Okay, so we answered that one also. So with this, I have answered the two theory parts. Now the next theory part is in question number 3. Okay, so I'm going to close all this. As you can see, when I open the word processor, my answer is saved, A and B. Okay, next is question 2. If you see the question 2, the requirements, if you see here also I have some theory part, but it's easy, so I don't think I have to write it, that you can do it by yourself. Okay, so first one is a calculation, you have to do calculation. Second part is theory, benefit and drawbacks of using forward compare with options, and explain why exchange traded derivatives are preferred over the counter derivatives. So this, they have some standard answers, you can go through the answer and write those answers. Nothing to think here. So I'm not doing part B. Part C, explain to non-executive director how the market to market process would work for the future, including the significance of data supplied by the treasury department. Illustrated explanation with calculation showing what would happen on the first day using data supplied by treasury department. This also you can do, it's easy. So directly I'm going to question number 3. And question number 3, the requirements and 25 marks. Part A, calculate adjusted APV and conclude whether project should be accepted or not. Calculation win in spreadsheet, I'm not doing it. Theory part is in part B. Discuss the fact that this is one of the important theory. Better you know it, because I have seen that it came multiple times in different ways. Discuss the factor which may determine the long-term finance policy for the company's board. Okay, which the company's board may adopt, and the factors which may cause the policy to change, and it's for 10 marks. Two things are there: long-term policy, the other one is policy to change. So two things, you have to discuss the factors for two things, and it's for 10 marks. So it's easy for you to divide between two, 5 marks. That means five factors for long-term finance policy, 5 factors policy to change. You can write in 5 different paragraphs. That means total there will be 10 paragraphs if you have to write this answer. So this is how you structure. This is my structuring. This is how I structure. If I was you, I would be structuring it this way. So open the word processor. Going to start with long-term finance policy and policy to change. And mind you, it's better to have subheadings when you have a very lengthy, when your theory part is for lengthy marks like this, for 10 marks, 12 marks, it's better to have subheadings. But if it's for 4 marks, very less marks, then it's not required. You can just write in 2 different paragraphs, 2 lines is enough. Like how we did for MBO and MBI. But for questions like this, you need, right? So just write, how do you know the subheadings? It's just simple, you can just copy paste it from the requirements. So the first subheading will be long term finance policy or long term policy factors. Those are factors you are saying, right? And make sure that bold it, okay? Don't forget to bold it, so that you know it's a subheading. Under this, okay, remove the bold. Okay, so now You can write in 5 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs. It's up to you. Okay. But one thing you have to avoid, don't write in bullet points. Don't write those bullets and write short words. That you have to avoid. You have to write complete sentence. Does not matter whether your sentence is short or not, but it has to be complete. Let's say you want to write something is less costly. So you just cannot write less costly. That's it. Cheaper, expensive. So one word answer you cannot write like this. Okay. What are the long-term policy? What could be the long-term policy factor? So for this, it's better that we go through the company. Okay, financial information, definitely we don't need. We'll just open and see. Okay. So in the financial information, we don't have anything. It is just it's nothing here. And project information, you don't. This is for your APV calculation you need. And you can just go to the company. Okay. So it's better always. See, introduction will help you throughout the question. Okay. Introduction you can use for the first requirement also, or for the last requirement also, for anything. Okay. Most of the information you have to pick from your introduction. So what is this company? Is a listed company with divisions which manufacture cars, motorbikes and cycles. For the last few years, the company has used a mixture of equity and debt. See, this information you get from here. Okay, I will zoom it for you guys. The company used mixture of debt and equity. This will tell you that finance they are using. However, it is about to make a new investment of 150 million in facility to produce electric cars which it proposes to finance solely by debt finance. 150 million. It's a long-term finance they need. Okay. So you might need information from here. Okay. Whenever the word finance comes, okay. So you can use some number if they provide you with like that 150 million, you can write in your answer. Okay. So at present, what are they doing? Long-term policy factor. When you have to talk about policy factor, about finance policy, how do you start? Start present. Presently, what is the finance? The way, how are you financing? What is the policy you are using? Start with the current, the present. So at present or currently, you can say at currently, mention the name of the company. Okay, about whom you're talking. At present, what is the name of the company? Embarle. At present, Embarle company is using, just now we saw it is using a mix of finance, both equity and debt. Or you can write it is using debt and equity. So, because they are using a mix of finance, what happens? It raises a question whether the directors are aiming for an optimal level of gearing, or there is a level which they do not wish gearing to exit. Okay. So just saying that they are using mix of finance is not enough. You have to add this line. When do a company uses mix of finance? See, you are free to use any way the way you want. You can either use totally equity, totally debt, or mix of finance. But some limitations are there. If you use totally debt, then you will be considered highly geared. You will be very risky. If you are using all equity, your WACC will increase because cost of equity is more than cost of debt. And if you are using a mix of finance, then what? That means you are concerned, you are creating a balance because you don't want your gearing to increase up to a certain level. That's why you're using equity in the debt, both. You're not using totally debt because you don't want your debt to increase. Because remember, for that investment, you need what? Debt. You're using it, that 150 million totally by debt. Currently, you're using mix of finance because you don't want your gearing to go high. So this raises a question, raising the question of whether the directors are aiming for an optimal level. You have to talk about this all optimal level of gearing and all. When the this question like this comes, finance question, okay? Level for an optimal level of gearing. The word gearing will automatically come. Or it could be an optimal level which they want to maintain. That's why they're having mix of finance. Or there is a level which they do not wish to exit. Or which there's a level which they do not wish gearing to exit. One of the reason. One of this factor. Okay, they are factors basically for mix of finance. Because here we are talking about factors. This two could be one of the factor why they're having mix of finance. Okay, so if you have to talk about both now, what both? If they wish to maintain gearing or if they don't want the gearing to exit. From both this, you have to talk about both this factor. Okay, if the board wishes to maintain gearing at an optimal level, there is likely to be determined by a balance of risk and advantages. You have to talk because you are talking about factor. If they want to maintain an optimal level, then what? Okay, so this answer, I am not writing it. I'm just telling you. You write the answer. Type the answer. Okay. If the board wishes to maintain gearing at an optimal level, this is likely to be determined by a balance of risk and advantages. Definitely, when you want to have something optimal level, what do? You check, you balance the advantages with the risk, that they are both at an equal level, balance, neither too high, neither too low. Okay. But what are the main risks? Now, what are those risks which you are talking about? Balance of risk and advantages. What risk you want to manage? You have to talk about risk, okay? Risk, gearing, all this thing automatically will come in your answer because you're talking about long-term finance policy. So the main risks are not being able to maintain the required level of payment. Definitely. The interest payment, if you cannot make to the finance provider, if you're not being able to make, that's a risk. Okay? Interest to debt providers or required level of dividend to shareholders. All these are risk. Okay? Next, what are the advantages? So do you see how from one point to one point you're leading? First you talked about mix of finance. From mix of finance you went to gearing. That also two. One is optimal level. The other one is not wish to exit the gearing. Third, from there you talked about if optimal level means balancing risk and advantages. Then you started talking about the risk. After the risk you started talking about the advantages. Can you see that connection, the link from one point to the next? That's what I wanted to show you in the theory when you write answer. There should be that link in your answer when you go to the next line. It cannot be totally a different sentence which is not linked with the first. Okay, I'm not writing it for you, but make sure that you write it. You type. Because if I come to type, then it will take more long. I will not be able to finish this otherwise. Okay. So the advantages are what are the advantages? If you have debt also in the equity, that means mixed finance, the advantages will be lower cost of debt. We know that debt are lower cost. Why? Tax relief on finance cost. Definitely. Because of debt we have interest and interest are tax deductible. Right? As shown in the APB calculations. So the answer they have written is as shown in the APB calculation means How they are linking part B with A? In the adjusted present value calculations, okay, what do they do? What do they do? The finance cost is shown as tax relief. Finance means the interest. Interest comes from debt. Okay. On the other hand, not being legally required to pay dividends in a particular year. So dividends you are not required to pay. That's why. Okay. Next. So you go to the next paragraph now. We have talked about mix of finance. How do you start the next paragraph? That is also a question. Another thing. Okay. These are long-term policy factor. So we talked about mix of finance, equity and debt, advantage, disadvantages, the risk. The next one is what? The next issue is what? The next issue is sources of finance. Okay. What sources of finance should be used? This is a point, this is a factor. You have to develop on this factor. Okay. Please write it somewhere. What sources of finance should the company use? This is the next factor. We are going to talk on this factor in a different paragraph, second paragraph. So another issue is whether the umbrellas board has preference about what sources of finance should be used, because definitely in the long term you have to think what source of finance. You cannot just use any sources of finance you want. It should match with your term of the duration you want. Okay, and in what order? Do you see what source of finance and in what order? Two things. So what in what order means we have studied a theory also based on this. What is that theory? So bring that theory also in the answer. One example, this is following the pecking order of, what does the pecking order says? When we go for the finance, which source do we first take? First, our first option should be retained earnings. Second, debt, third, equity. Okay, first return, second, debt, third, equity. Equity is the last option. So this all you have to write in your answer. You have to type. I'm not typing, but you type. I'm just saying you. While I'm explaining you the points, you type in your own words. So the board may prefer this pecking order on the grounds. What grounds? That avoiding any equity issue means that the composition of shareholding is unchanged, or because return earnings and longer term debt are judged low risk, right? So that means they're saying that board may prefer this pecking order. That meaning they will first take return earnings. They are agreeing that return earnings they should take first. Why? Because return earnings and longer term debt are just low risk compared to the equity. Longer term debt, because debt is the second option, no, after return earnings, they are lower risk than the equity. Okay, because if the company see, equity depends on so many things, market value, all right, it depends on the market. The directors can even take advantage of the company shares being overpriced when they are going by equity as a finance, but not in the long term debt and return earnings. So what are the other sources? So other specific sources of finance, they also might have benefit which attract the directors, or the drawbacks might not attract. The third, what is the third? Third paragraph. What does the third paragraph says? Okay. So the third paragraph says this investment highlights the aspect of whether the board prefers to match source of finance with specific investment. Matching arguably gives greater flexibility. So you're talking about matching the investment with the source of finance. Okay, because matching gives a greater flexibility and avoids committing. Avoids committing the company to a longer term interest burden. However, To adopt this approach, the board will need assurance. Okay, either that the investment will be able to meet the finance cost and ultimately repayment burdens, or this can be met from surpluses from other operations. Okay, later on when you go through the marking scheme, you can see the answer and then make sure that you understand the answers. Okay, next is the next subheading. So we are done with the long-term policy factor. Now it is the changing long-term financing policy, the next policy to change. Okay, I'll just copy paste it. Under this, I will not write, but you can just type. The reason is I'm just trying to show you how to go from one line to line, how to start, how to get the points to write. Right, the typing part you can do, I'm sure about it, so I don't have to have the answer for you. Now, changing long-term finance policy. Okay, this you can divide into n number of paragraphs. It's up to you how many paragraphs you want to write it in 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs, 4 paragraphs. One paragraph you can write in one line. Okay, so as well as deciding what financing mix of sources of finance they desire to use, the directors will need to consider what factors would cause the decision to change. For example, you are taking equity. From equity you might go to debt. So why that change? What caused you to change? What are the factors? That is the question. Okay, that's what the requirement is asking you. Understood? So one factor, number one, please write it down. It could be there might be a very major change in the scope of the operation. That your operation changed, the scope of your operation changed very drastically. Maybe you need a very heavy requirement. Heavy finance is required for a major investment. So it might cause to change the financing policy. Before, maybe you were able to work by using retained earnings, but now since there's a major investment for a long-term investment, let's say for 4 or 5 years you want to build a building, it requires 200 million and you just have a retained earnings of 10 million. What about the remaining 190 million? So now you have to change. Return earning will not be enough. You might have to go to the next debt, right, or equity. Okay, here you can talk about that 150 million which you read in the exhibit 1. Okay, so the 150 million investment has been financed entirely by what? Entirely by medium term debt. So the company may have chosen solely to use debt if it has made a recent equity issue and does not feel it can make another one so soon afterwards. When will it use debt? If it have used equity before and they felt that they cannot make a issue of equity issue very soon. Okay, that's why they might go to debt to use that 150 million to finance that. Okay, in addition, what happens? The company expands its manufactures of electric cars. It may decide to sell off its motorbike or cycle division if they are performing less well, right? Definitely they can sell off and get, right? Another way how they can finance is because they are changing, no? The question has policy to change, so they might sell the other two, the motorbikes and the cycle division, because they want to expand their manufacture of which division? Electric cars. So they can sell it off and get it from there if they are performing less well. Remember, they will just not sell any division. Okay, if the division is not performing well, then only they will sell, because the sell proceed, after you sell, the amount you get, you can use it to finance the new investment in the car, electric car. Third paragraph. Third paragraph might be the board might be flexible. So if the board is flexible means what? They will take any source of finance which is advantage for them. Okay, they can take advantage of the sources of finance which offers them the best terms. Okay, offers the company the best term. So maybe that loan finance which they have, medium term debt, that 150 million, they are financing it by what? Medium term debt. Maybe they have taken a loan. Why? Because maybe they are getting it at a lower cost. They are getting the loan at a lower cost. So getting it at a lower cost is advantageous for the company, right? It's a flexibility. Especially if it's a government loan. Okay. All these things you don't have to write. It's not there, but just for your common sense, if it's a government loan, definitely it's a lower cost. Fourth paragraph and the last paragraph. If your business or economic environment changes, then your policy also will change. Okay. For example, let's assume you are in a recession. All these things you can write by the way in your answer. Okay. Assumptions and all. I'm just explaining you. So if you are in economic recession or share prices are falling. Okay. So in recession, what happens? Share price falls down. So if share price falls down, means what? So you cannot now use equity as a source of finance. Remember, equity we use the last resort. Why? Recession, share price went down. Who will go for a share issue? It's uncertain. So in that time, recession time, what will you use? Either retain, mostly retain earnings, because even debt also it will be hard for you to get during recession. So you have to think. Because during recession, what happens? Economic and business risk increases. So if it increases, do you think lenders will give you? Because they will face a risk, no? They cannot get the rates. They cannot charge higher interest from you. So definitely they will also restrict to give you more loans, more debt. And if the directors are risk averse, that means it depends on their risk attitude, right? They don't, that means they want to avoid risk. What happens? They will not even seek a new finance during recession. Okay, so they will rely on what? Return earnings. So all these things you can talk. Okay, all these are factors when economic changes, when it goes to recession. Okay, the board may also be flexible, or there's a major change in the scope of operations. So all these are different factors. It could be explained in different paragraphs under policy to change. Okay, so now with this, I have finished answering all the theory part, and let us go to the answer and see the marking scheme. Okay, I'm going to end this here. This is not the end, guys. I have more. I'll be covering all the other areas also. This is just a theory part. Okay, I will not be able to cover all the theory part for you, but this should give you an idea how to answer theory part. I think after this, writing theory will not be a challenge for you. Now we are going to the mark. So we are going to self mark. So just see the marks. Okay, the marking scheme is here. Your answer which you wrote is here. Okay, if you say it's 0. So you can give yourself mark here. Okay. How are you going to give your marks? Definitely your mark will be 0, especially for theory questions and all. So what you have to do is you have to see with this marking scheme here, see, check your answer like this, match your answer with this one with this. Okay, you can go here and click to get the sample answer. Okay, match your answer with this answer and give marks here. Okay, for each requirement. Definitely I'm not going through this and showing you, but you can just read it by yourself and check the answer which I've written and give your marks here. And you can even write some text over here. Those texts will help you when you later come on to see which areas you have to work on. Okay, so now let us go to question. So you can give marks. Okay, what are the marks? I can give marks for this 2, 3. Okay, you can give marks here. Okay, so that's it for the theory part. I have covered the theory questions. Some I have covered at least three. I have managed to do. The others you do it. Okay, so then my next topic will be, it could be any one, any of the four: reconstructions or risk management or investment appraisal or acquisition and merger. Definitely it's a December 2018 paper which I'll be doing. Okay, so thanks for watching the video and don't forget to share this video. Till then, see you in my next video.